Hello everyone, this is Abhishek Saraf, All India Rank 8th UPSC Civil Service Exam 2019, and today I would like to elaborate and discuss the strategy that I adopted for prelims preparation. You see, people say that prelims is a matter of luck, it is a very tough nut to crack, but personally I have been on both sides of the exam. I failed to clear my prelims 2015 by a margin of 16 marks, and in 2017 I cleared my prelims by a margin of 33 marks. So 16 marks is not a matter of luck, neither is 33 marks. So what I changed, what strategy did I adopt, and how it impacted my result, the result that I just disclosed. That is the thing that I would like to discuss today. So without much further ado, let's get right to it. See, the standard book list for prelims is very simple. It is available on several blogs and you don't have to deviate much from it. That is the first point that I would like to make. This exam does not require much innovation. It requires consistency, it requires sincerity, and it requires dedication. So my first advice to any candidate would be to go online and research the standard book list that has to be followed, and that is it. The first step is done. Second thing that I would like to emphasize is that I made my own self notes. I did not rely on any material that comes a couple of months before the exam and claims to cover the entire years of current affairs. See, the reason I did that was because personally, it happens with me that the slower I study, the longer I retain things. If I make my own notes, I internalize things, and it stays with me for much longer time. So that is why I made my own notes. I will elaborate on how I made my notes, but the second point was that make your own notes. That is what I did. Then it is a well-known fact that prelims requires you to retain a lot of factual information in your short-term memory. And that informs the objective questions that you'll solve, either by directly picking out the right answer or by adopting strategies of elimination. So short notes and collection of factual information that helps you to solve questions, that helps you to revise material very quickly, because you will have to rely on your short-term memory. You will have to cover a lot of content right before the prelims, like 1 month before the prelims or 2 months before the prelims, depending on your comfort level, but you'll have to cover a lot of content. So it is not possible to flip through pages of books. So you have to prepare short notes for prelims. But that does not mean that you have to prepare short notes for anything and everything that you study for prelims. That has to be done based on your comfort level as well as your personal customized strategy. And one thing that I did differently was the rule of thumb that I followed, that during the entire year before the prelims, you have to solve 6,000 MCQ questions. 6,000 questions. And this is not just one test series. This does not have to be done in just 1 month. It will be done during the entire year. So in nutshell, these 4 things: standard book list followed with consistency, self notes for current affairs, as well as short notes, collection of factual information, and 6,000 MCQs. That has to be done for the entire year for the prelims. So coming to the syllabus wise book list that I followed, it is available on any and every website. It is much like any other selected candidate. It does not deviate much. What you do is differently, but the book list that you do follow is pretty much the same. So Ancient India by Mr. Ram Charan Sharma's old NCERT, Medieval India by Mr. Satish Chandra, old NCERT, Modern India by Spectrum, pretty much the standard book that is, and Geography class 9th to class 12th NCERT, and GC Leong, and that has to be complemented with online videos. Why? Because sometimes you face trouble in understanding those concepts. The language of the book might not be that amenable to you. So what you do is you go online, and for that you find several blogs and videos and explanatory videos like the ones I found for several concepts of geography. A few videos posted by Unique IS were also quite helpful. So that comes through online searches. Random online searches have to be done by every student, and depending on the content that they want to understand. Polity was covered by Lakshmikant, pretty much the standard book. And once again, I supplemented that with online content and videos, because sometimes you're not able to understand the concepts of polity, and sometimes some content is not covered in Lakshmikant book. So you go online, you do searches, and sources like Insights, IS Baba, Civils Daily, Unique IS Material, they were quite helpful. The content that was posted online by these websites that I just mentioned are quite helpful. Economy, I studied Ramesh Singh to develop my basic concepts of economy. That book will come handy to you during your preparation. But that is not the only exclusive book. You can go for any book as long as it covers the basic concepts. Internet searches like Mrunal sir's blog that was there. It covered basic concepts very well. In fact, to this day, whenever I want to study CPI, WPI, IIP, I directly go to Mrunal sir's blog. So, and like I mentioned, no one coaching provides you enough material. No one source provides you enough material. That is the beauty of this exam, that you have to develop your own material, you have to study your own material, and you have to do online searches. So various sources like YouTube videos, Unique IAS material, Insights, Civils Daily, IAS Baba, Mrunal sir's blog, all these material combined and customized as per your comfort level will enable you to develop the knowledge base for prelims, and that is what I did. So coming to the environment, Shankar IAS's class notes, quite common, and Shankar IAS's book that comes in the market. Now UPSC has been orienting the exam in such a way that the emphasis in environment is more on current affairs and conventions and international bodies. So the last few chapters of that book were something that I found most relevant, and I used to refer to those books. And once again, Google searches, internet, YouTube videos, and Gaurav Marvasa's blog and the content that is hosted by Unique IAS online, they were quite helpful for various topics of prelims and mains. Art and culture, Nitin Singhania sir's handwritten notes, as well as internet searches, Google images. You know, art and culture is kind of a static topic. So if you complement the material that you read with Google images, that helps you use your picture memory to be able to recall the content that you read. So whatever content you read, I did Nitin Singhania sir's handwritten notes, that has to be complemented with Google images, as well as the content hosted by various websites, and I've already mentioned the websites that I use. Like I mentioned, in current affairs I made my own notes, and those notes have to be made all the year round, every day, and the sources that I followed were Insights on India, Civils Daily, IAS Baba, and then they were complemented by random Google searches for things that I could not understand, or for things that I wanted to understand in deeper depth. So the material hosted by Unique IAS or several coachings that were quite helpful. Science and technology. Now any persistent candidate knows that usually it was recommended that science and technology has to be covered from NCERTs, but these days UPSC has been orienting the exam to cover more current affairs in science and technology. So I would recommend people to do Google searches, develop their basic concepts in topics like nanotechnology, biotechnology, or space science, defense, whatever it is. Once you develop your basic concepts, all you have to do is to cover the current affairs. You can use any source you want. I did Insights, IAS Baba, and Civils Daily, and then random searches to find the concepts that I could not understand. And sometimes the videos hosted by Unique IAS as well as the recommendations on YouTube were quite helpful. Then coming to the crux, like I mentioned, that you have to make your own notes. So for that you have to learn how to read the newspaper, right? The first thing that you need to do to make relevant notes is to review the previous year's questions. That will enable you to understand and pick out the relevant content, the prelims worthy content, or mains worthy content, or interview worthy content when you read the newspaper. So first review the paper, previous year's paper, and keep an eye out for prelims worthy content in the newspaper. For example, I might add that on international affairs page, sometimes in an article about Middle East, you might find a line that Arab Spring initiated in Tunisia in 2011. Now that line might not be very relevant for mains point of view, but it can occur as a question in prelims on any day, on any year. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind while reading the newspaper, because you review the paper, you understand that these kind of things are asked, and you keep an eye out while reading the newspaper. Then I mentioned that you have to optimize your time, get maximum productivity and output of your time from your time while you do anything regarding civil service exam or any other endeavor. What I did was I followed websites like Insights on India, Civils Daily, IAS Baba Daily. They host daily current affairs, and those were used for making notes for mains as well as for prelims. I made separate notes for prelims and mains, and we'll get into that later. But these are the three websites that I follow daily for current affairs, editorials, as well as quizzes. 5 questions every day on each of these 3 websites: Insights, Civils Daily, IAS Baba. So these are the things that I did for developing my body of knowledge, my content in current affairs. Then you have to complement these things with Google searches for things, and oftentimes videos by selected candidates, blogs of toppers, and blogs of several mentors from coaching institutes come in handy. Like Gaurav Marwasar's blog came in quite handy for me regarding understanding concepts, and those were basically based on Google searches and random suggestions by YouTube. Then the newspapers that I followed were The Hindu and Indian Express, and the reading that I did from those newspapers were customized regarding the requirement of the exam. Like I mentioned, during reading the newspaper, you have to keep an eye out for things that might be asked in the prelims. Then the next important thing is how to make notes. First thing is that you have to decide whether you want to make notes or not. Several toppers have cleared the exam without making notes from the newspaper. My personal strategy was that I relied on my own notes that I made throughout the year. I did not rely on any material that used to come before the exam, a couple of months before the exam, and claims to cover the entire year's current affairs, whether for prelims or for mains. I did not rely on that. So I made my own notes. Now, important thing in making your own notes is that knowing the relevant content. Like I mentioned, you have to review the previous year questions for that. Then you have to structure those notes based on the requirement of the exam. It cannot be one monolith that you try to develop and use for prelims as well as mains. The way I did was that, first of all, separate notes. For prelims as well as mains. Because even though you are studying the same source, the way you cover the content for prelims as well as mains, it is quite different. For prelims, you have to focus a little bit more on the factual information. For mains, you have to focus on analytical information. So if you make notes separately, the focus can be customized based on the requirement of the exam. So that is why I made separate notes for prelims as well as mains. Now, second step in making notes was that I used Evernote. That provides you the flexibility of making notes on different devices and updating those notes frequently. Otherwise, you have to handle a lot of paper, and updating notes becomes quite difficult. Suppose you have made notes for a topic today. You made 5 points in pros, 5 points in cons, and after a week, another article comes and it refers to those 5, it contributes 5 more points to that same topic, and you have run out of space in that page to note down the pros and cons. So you'll add another page, and that becomes quite cumbersome. So I made notes online. I made notes on Evernote. That was quite easy. And I used the electronic copies of newspapers. So I was able to use my laptop for completing the newspaper and current affairs, and that was complemented by online searches which were done right at that time. And using the laptop made it quite aligned, the coverage of newspaper as well as the coverage from online sources. It was quite synchronized and aligned. Otherwise, I would have to keep flipping between the laptop as well as the newspaper and the paper notes. So I made my own notes on the laptop. Now you have to structure those notes in the notebooks on pattern of the PYQ. I can give you an example. Evernote that I used, it has the option for you to make notebooks. Notebooks are basically collection of notes. And then you can also make notebook stacks. What I did was, I made a notebook stack for GS1 of mains, one notebook stack. GS2 of mains, another notebook stack. GS3 of mains, another notebook stack. Then GS4, another notebook stack. After that, I made a notebook stack for pre-GS1, pre-GS2, and pre-GS3. So these were under the notebook stack of prelims. These three were each one notebook. Okay, so 3 notebooks in the notebook stack of prelims. Another notebook that I developed was prelims questions. Of this content, this was composed by the one-line pointers that I collected from the quizzes that I was attempting every day. Like I mentioned, 15 questions per day from those 3 websites. And whenever I got a question wrong or whenever I found something new, I would make a one-liner note in the notebook prelims questions. So at the end of the year, I had a body of 2000 points, one-liners, in the notebook prelims questions. And then there is different information that has to be collected from each article, even a single article, based for current, from each article for current affairs. You have to collect information for prelims as well as for mains. Even from a single article, you might end up collecting different information from mains and for prelims. So that is how you have to read the newspaper. I've already told that in mains you have to be a little bit analytical, so analytical information has to be collected for mains. But for prelims, factual information like weapons, exercises, reports, themes, space missions, these things have to be looked out for and put in the relevant notes. Then personally for me, I must accept that I was not very good at making short, concise notes in the first book. So what I did was I made those notes iteratively. I trimmed down my notes in the weekend. In the week I would run a note named workbook, and I would put all the notes of the week in this one workbook, in one note named workbook. And during the weekend, I would read this note again and trim it down. And after I have trimmed down the notes, I have made them a little bit concise, I have made them a little bit to the point, I would shift the relevant material to all these notebooks and notebook stacks. That is how Evernote provided me the flexibility of making better notes, as well as keeping on updating my notes and making them even more sharper, to the point and concise iteratively. Then comes a new point, that how do you read books or even make notes? See, I already mentioned that books have to be read a little bit differently. Same book or same article or same content, same physical content can be read differently or has to be read differently for prelims as well as for mains, right? For example, in Spectrum, let us take the example of a book that is widely used by almost every candidate for prelims as well as for mains. Now, if you're reading that book for prelims, you have to collect factual information that XYZ person, XYZ nationalist leader published this newspaper. XYZ nationalist leader was the founder of this organization. This organization was formed after or before this organization. This person chaired the Indian National Congress meeting in this year. These are the things, these are some of the examples of the factual information that you might have to collect for prelims. But these things might not be as relevant for mains, because in mains you have to support your argument, you have to support your analysis by facts, and if you don't know a particular fact, you could just as easily use another fact to support your analysis. So first thing in mind, you have to read the books differently. People say that the preparation for prelims and mains goes simultaneously, but I would say that that is partially true. For me it went simultaneously throughout the year. But the way I just mentioned, that I was reading current affairs throughout the year, I was making notes current affairs throughout the year. But when it comes to reading a book, you have to read it differently for prelims and differently for mains. Then you have to make notes selectively from books. Not every book has to be made notes out of. Because Spectrum, it is a fantastic book, it is such a wonderful book that notes are given at the end of every chapter, and those things are very relevant for prelims and even for mains, depending on the content. However, sometimes some factoids of that book are not always covered in those notes. I'm referring to examples like which person was the leader of which organization. Like in the chapter for social reforms, several nationalist leaders have been mentioned that they led XYZ organization, they established XYZ organization, they published XYZ booklet or newspaper or editorial or periodical. So these things have to be picked right out of that book and made into notes. And the way it will help you is that I mentioned that prelims is about short-term memory. You have to learn a lot of factoids, but you do not have the time to flip through the newspapers or through massive hefty books. So what you do is that you take the gist out of that, you take the most relevant content out of that and put it into your notes. And that enables you to revise a 30-40 page chapter within like 1 or 2 hours because of your notes. You don't even refer the book, you just refer your notes. So those things which are relevant for the prelims have to be recognized from the book made into short notes and kept for revisions during the last 1 month or last 2 months, whatever the case may be for you. Sometimes you have to make notes for exclusive material that appears in the prelims and does not appear in the mains. I have given you examples. Some other examples are like reports. These come in news daily. XYZ organization publishes XYZ report, themes, XYZ theme of XYZ conference. These things generally don't appear in the mains. You can use the name of the report to substantiate your fact, but that is not a necessity. That is a value addition thing, and you can just as easily use another report. So, but if the name of the report comes in the exam, you have to know, that's the only way you can answer. So you have to make notes of that explicitly, separately in your prelims notes. That is how I did that. Similar is the example for rivers. For example, if you are studying rivers from NCERT, physical geography. Now which river originates where does it flow from, which gorge it cuts, where does it meet XYZ another river. These things generally don't appear in the mains, but they are very relevant for prelims point of view. You have made separate notes out of material for prelims as well as mains. Like I mentioned, some material that appears in the news is relevant only for prelims. Other material might be relevant for prelims and mains both. Like which organization publishes which report, that is exclusively relevant, not exclusively relevant for prelims. You can use it for mains, but if you don't know which committee publishes which report, you can obviously use another committee to substantiate your point in mains, but in prelims it will not work. So you have to make notes, elaborate notes of which committee publishes which reports, rivers, themes of various conferences, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, wetlands, environmental reserve, elephant reserves, mangroves, etc. You have to collect relevant material from online sources, like you are using standard book list, you are using material of coachings. Still you have to keep on doing Google searches, be a member of discussion forums, and follow some websites on which people are hosting relevant content. For example, I found a PDF which had mnemonics to learn which countries were members of various organizations. For example, I found mnemonics to learn G20 as well as OPEC members. So that is quite helpful, and you have to keep an eye out for things like that. Other than that, you have to seek the guidance of your mentors, seniors, and online sources to understand how to make notes, how to read books. So for that, you can find the best source in YouTube. For example, various vlogs by Gaurav Marwah sir is quite relevant regarding the art of note making, or the content hosted by Insights on India, Civils Daily, IS Baba. These are the websites and these are the sources that I followed to understand the art of note making. And then the point is that you have to work hard and smart, both on increasing your memory as well as on your concentration, so that you are able to produce optimum output of your time. Seek expert guidance for that. Gaurav sir's blog is quite a good source, quite a consistent, quite a helpful source in that. Then I will just go through the list of topics for which I made notes in my notebooks for prelims, and the notebooks were prelims GS1, prelims GS2, prelims GS3, as I mentioned, and those notebooks were converted into notebook stacks, aligned into notebook stacks. So the topics that I covered in prelims GS1 were obviously aligned with the topics that are covered in the mains. The reason I did that was, while you're making notes, if the names of the topics are similar in mains and prelims, it becomes a little bit aligned exercise to make notes, even though the content is different. So in prelims GS1, the topics were ancient India, medieval India, factoids for prelims that are relevant from GS1 point of view that appear in the news, festivals, cultures, geography, and modern India, sites in news like UNESCO World Heritage Sites or XYZ archaeological site that is in news, and the tribes in India. For GS2, the bodies like the constitutional body, executive bodies, statutory bodies, international bodies, so one note was made out of that. Declarations that are signed throughout the meetings and conferences, another note. The governance, the various schemes and initiatives launched by the government of India was another notes. And health, various healthcare schemes or science and technology notes on healthcare were relevant. New laws proposed formed another notes. International relations and themes, reports and committees were made into another note. Similarly for GS3, it was acronyms that come throughout the year in news, like Grace Telescope, or like any other acronym like SALSA. There was one acronym regarding that in last year's notes. So similarly, atomic science, these kind of notes are quite helpful, and you have to keep on updating them throughout the year. Another note was computers, regarding any cyber technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, automation. These things, new technologies are developing every day, and short snippets about these can be made from various sources like Inside Civils Daily, I use these sources, and IS Baba. Also material hosted by Unique IS or several other people posting content on YouTube can be very helpful, and you should follow that. Then cropping in India, the Physical Geography NCERT presents a chapter for cropping in India. And if you try to learn all the crops in one day, all the content about the crops, where do they grow, how many seasons, whether they are a Rabi crop or Kharif crop, if you try to learn all these in one day, you will make a mess of things and you will not be able to reproduce them in the exam. The way I did that was I made short notes from Physical NCERT, printed them and pasted them on my wall, and then learnt one crop every day. Then defense equipment, defense exercises, these were exclusively the content that had to be made notes out of for prelims. Disaster, new technologies learned for disaster management, economy, environment SNT, energy SNT, energy science and technology, and minerals. Similar, I did a similar exercise for minerals as I did for cropping, which mineral is found, these kind of things. Science and technology, energy and space, like various probes, various missiles or various missions that were launched by various countries for space science. Now solving quizzes, like I mentioned that I did 6,000 quizzes, 6,000 questions per year for every prelims. Then these were covered through Inside Civils Daily, IS Baba. These three websites post 5 questions every day. You attempt those questions. If you get something wrong, if you find a new factoid, you make a one-liner note and put them in your prelims quiz notes. And throughout the year, you develop a bank of 2,000, 1,500 questions, and you print those notes 1 month or 1.5 months before the prelims. Keep that booklet, turn that into a booklet, and keep those notes on your table, and cover those questions in short breaks, like 10 to 15 points in one break. One page composed of 50 to 60 points in a day, and that is how you use your short-term memory without overburdening it. Then 60-day program of IS Baba, it has 30 questions every day. So 60 into 30, that is 1,800 questions. And I would emphasize that one test series of any coaching has to be done 35 tests of 100 questions each. I would emphasize that candidates should not skip between coaching's test series. Stick with one, complete it holistically, and make notes out of those quizzes for last 1 month revision. Now, how you do a test series? You attempted 55 questions, you know with 100% surety. 30 to 35 questions were guesses. So you read the solution to the questions that you guessed and got right. Do not assume that you got a question right because you guessed it. It means you knew it, you knew the answer. No, don't do it that way. So 2 hours for attending the paper, 15 minutes for checking that options, checking your answers, and another 2 to 2.5 hours to reviewing the solutions. That is how you attempt a paper, and then you make one-liner notes out of each of these and revise them 1 to 2 months before the prelims. Last 2 months, except the first timers who are writing the prelims for the first time, the senior players should focus on revision, except for current affairs, for which you might have made notes all the year round, like I did. So I would emphasize that in the first attempt, you might not have made short notes already consisting of the factoids, like I mentioned earlier. If you don't have those notes made already, you will face some problems in covering vast volume of material in a short amount of time, because prelims is a game of short-term memory. So you have to recall and remember and read a lot of factoids in a short period of time, and exclusively made notes for prelims composed of those factoids help you a lot, right? So in the last 1 to 2 months, you have to have made those notes in the previous attempts or in your first attempt and revise those notes rather than relying on new material, except for current affairs. But like I mentioned, for current affairs, I made my own notes throughout the year. I revised those notes during the weekend, and this helped me internalize those notes, and at that point of the exam, finish the material quite faster. Then do not go for new content in the last minute. I've already emphasized. Customize this strategy based on your own knowledge base, based on your retention power, based on your own reading speed. And I would emphasize that even though if you have reviewed previous year question papers, kindly solve the previous year's question papers before the exam. At least 1 month before the exam, you should solve 5 to 6 years previous year question papers and read the solutions as well. I've already mentioned that you have to rely on short-term memory, but you cannot overburden your memory with factoids. So the way I did that was, you have to learn a lot of factoids, but you cannot learn a bunch of factoids regarding one topic in one go. So you learn small volume of factoids from each topic every day, thereby cumulatively it becomes a large volume without burdening your brain. Example, you can learn 5 pages of cultures notes, handwritten notes by Mr. Nitin Singhania sir. That is how I did it. Learn 5 pages of notes today. Tomorrow you revise those yesterday's 5 pages notes and learn 5 more pages. So you don't overburden your brain. If you try to learn 60 pages in a day, you will make a mess of things in your brain, and chances are that you will mark the wrong answer based on vague recollection of things during the exam. Then this is just an example, but that is how I did things. 10 reports a day, 10 themes a day, 5 pages of art and cultures a day, 60 to 100 MCQ notes, the one-liner notes that I just mentioned, 60 to 100 points during the day, as well as 1.5 hours of Atlas before the prelims every night before going to bed. If you do 10 hours of Atlas in a day, you will make a mess of things, you will not be able to recall. But if you do 65 to 100 MCQ questions and divide these things into small bursts during the day, like 10 MCQ questions, 10 MCQ one-liners after your meal, 5 to 10 after you go to the washroom, after every visit to the washroom. This will not overburden your brain. Still, at the end of the day, you will have covered a lot of factual information from various topics without overburdening your brain. Now, attempting the paper, it is a very tricky thing, but rule of thumb is that you should attempt 85 to 90 questions. If you're doing less than that, you are reducing the chances. You are under attempting. If you're doing more than that, you are over attempting. The paper has to be solved in 3 iterations. In the first iteration, you will do 3 things. You will mark the question that you are 100% sure of, right? You will strike off those questions that you are just not sure of. The question paper looks something like this. This is Hindi part. This is English part. This is question number 1. This is question number 2. This is question number 3, 4, 5. You read question number 1, you are absolutely unsure of it. Just strike it out. Never to be seen again during the exam. You are sure of question number 2, mark B. You are sure, mark C. You are not sure of this, you are 50-50% sure between 2 answers like B or C. So you mark B and C and you mark doubt left. That is how I did it during the exam. And you are sure, mark this. You are sure of this, mark the question. So you do these 3 things in the first iteration. The first iteration has to be completed by 75 minutes. And in that, 45 to 55 questions have to be attempted with 100% surety. But like I mentioned, you have to go to 85 to 90 questions for an optimum attempt. Okay, so how you get from here to here? In the second iteration, you attempt these questions. And if you do enough number of test series, you'll develop a knack to recognize which question you are sure of with more certainty, with more probability, like 70-30% surety, 60-40% surety, 50-50% surety, that kind of thing. So you will develop a knack for this. This is not an exact science, but it happens with every candidate who solves enough number of test papers. So you go for these kind of questions first. You solve 25 to 30 of these questions and you can do a probabilistic analysis. You realize that you are very much likely to end up with positive 20 to 30 marks. And that is what the difference is between a person scoring 92 marks in prelims or 140 marks in prelims. Developing a knack to do these things properly and developing a big knowledge base to at least have 45 to 55 questions of 100% surety. If you have 30 questions of 100% surety and you do 65 questions like this or 55 questions like this, you are putting yourself at a high risk of negative marking. it can happen that it might go wrong because you are attempting more questions with this probability, 50% probability or something like that. So you are more likely to get negative marking in this scenario. And in the third iteration, if need arises, you should get yourself to 85 to 90 questions. Second iteration will take you about 30 minutes. So from 75 to 35, you get to about 110 minutes. And in the last 10 minutes, you will do the third iteration if need be. Elimination is a very important technique that you have to develop, and that is what will enable you to get from 55 questions to 85 questions. Now, how do you do the elimination? First of all is that you read the question very carefully. If there is something that is tricky, then it should immediately attract your attention. How you do it? By reading one point and cross-checking the options. Suppose if one point is wrong and the question is like statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, which statement is correct? 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, and question 2, statement 2 is wrong, and all the options have statement 2. Then you have immediately, by knowing that one statement is wrong, narrowed down to the correct answer. That is how you do elimination sometimes. Sometimes internal consistency has to be checked between the options. So for example, 1, 2 is correct, 2, 3 is correct, 1, 2, if 1, 2 is correct, 1 and 2 are correct, 3 cannot be correct. If 1 is correct, 2 cannot be correct. That kind of thing happens and it helps you. Sometimes you can correlate current affairs with your static knowledge. For example, once a question came that lions were being relocated to a protected area, and 3 of the options that were given were tiger reserves. So even if you don't know the correct factual information, even if you miss the current affairs news, you can immediately recognize that lions and tigers don't live in the same area. They are keystone species and apex predators. They do not live in the same area. Very exceptionally, they might be found somewhere in the world, but they do not live in the same area. So by using that logic, you could have eliminated the 3 options which incidentally in that question by design were tiger reserves, and everybody is supposed to know what the tiger reserves are. Then you should keep an eye out for extreme statements, like statements which have words like only, this thing happens only, this thing happens always, drastically, or completely, or all. These things are generally wrong. Similarly, you should keep an eye out for generalistic statements in science, because suppose you should realize that the people who are framing the papers are generalists, they are not subject domain experts. In all chances, while they were framing the question, some research paper might have suggested that XYZ technology can be used for ABC purpose. Some research paper might have been suggesting so, even though it might not be the mainstream purpose for XYZ technology. But if a research paper has suggested something like that, then the person who is framing the question cannot deny that. So your answer to a generalistic statement will be correct, that ABC technology can be used for XYZ purpose. Common mistakes that happen during attempting the paper is that people tend to misread incorrect or correct keyword in the question paper, and they mark the incorrect option while the correct option was asked. So what I did was, whenever I came across such a question, I ensured that I wrote true, false, 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 these kind of things in front of the statements that I was supposed to judge. Do not do this thing. Why? Because if the keyword is which of the following statements are incorrect, in your brain it might mean that this is the correct option or this is the correct statement. And if this is the keyword, these two, correct option or correct statement, are two different things. So I did not rely on this thing, I did this thing, true, false. Whenever I came across such a word, I did this thing, and before selecting my answer, review the keyword again. True means the statement is correct. There is no ambiguous interpretation that can happen in your brain. Now coming to the point of filling the bubbles simultaneously or in intervals. I have adopted the strategy that keep a pencil in your hand, fill the bubbles with the pencil. Keep a pencil in your hand, fill the bubbles with the pencil, not with the pen. Do something like that with the pencil. Okay. Why? Because sometimes it happens that you may have been sure that option B is the answer, but some smidgen of doubt is there in your memory. And when you get to question number, this was question number 10 for example, when you get to question number 70, something hits in your brain and you recall that no, this was not the answer. this was the answer. But if you are using a pen in the first iteration in the get-go, there is nothing that you can do now. Do not use a whitener. Do not use a whitener. Okay. So keep a pencil in your hand and keep marking questions to which you are 100% sure of in the first iteration with pencil. After the first iteration, give your brain a 3-4 minute break. Pick up the black pen and darken these circles. First, mark simultaneously while solving the question with the pencil in the first iteration. Secondly, after the first iteration, give yourself a 3-4 minute break, consume sugar and mark these with the pen. Another reason why I said so, because sometimes you might not have been sure of a question, or you might have been 99% sure but not 100% sure, but you still marked it. And somewhere down the line, another question on that topic appeared and it clicked in your brain that, oh no, the answer to this question, which I was almost certain but not quite, but not 100%, was not this thing but this thing. Some new question triggered something in your brain regarding that. But if you have already marked it with a pen, then there is nothing you can do. So don't mark with a pen in the first iteration. Mark with a pencil, and after the first iteration, give your brain a break. Mark encircle the bubbles with a pen. But in the second, third iteration, use the pen right away. You won't have the time otherwise. Then, if you are attempting the paper, the common mistakes that you should avoid is that sometimes people tend to take a lot of pressure regarding the prelims. And if 7 to 8 questions in the starting are peculiar ones, they could not attempt them, they could not figure them out, they panic that, oh no, I'm supposed to leave only 15 questions at max unattempted, and these 7 questions have already happened in the first 7 questions or first 10 questions. 7 questions are the one that I am striking out, never to be seen again in the paper. Definitely my paper is going. Do not do this thing. Keep your psychological balance in the exam. If this thing is happening and you are not able to cope up with it, turn the page, go to question number 100, start attempting from the behind. Why? This will enable you to gain the confidence back that you might have started to lose. Turn the page, go to question number 50, start attempting. Okay. Do not ever try new things in the exam. The things that you have done in the test series, the things that have worked for you, the things that you can count on, the things that you have used as part of your strategy, only do those things in the exam. Never ever try new things in the exam. Do not over attempt. Do not go for glory. Do not go for imaginary cutoffs thinking that the paper is very easy, cutoff is going to go very high, so I should over attempt. No. You should attempt 85 to 90 questions, but you should attempt them in the strategy that I discussed. If you are not sure, then you have to have done more practice. But do not think that the cutoff is going to go very high. Do what you want to do what you are capable of doing in the exam. Do not define your attempt by what other people might be doing in the exam. That is all I have to say about this. Which test series to attempt? I've already mentioned that you can go for any test series as long as you do from end to end. Why? I say this because you might be tempted to cover 10 tests from XYZ coaching, another 10 tests from XYZ coaching. I would suggest that you should avoid that. Why? Because coachings have a way of distributing their content across the entire length of their test series. If you pick and choose a particular set of tests from one coaching and then skip to another, it is likely that you might miss some content that could have been covered from that test series. So almost all the test series cover content reasonably well, and if you are doing 6,000 questions from various sources like I mentioned, you are much more likely to cover the entire content. So I would advise you to stick to one test series. I did Vision, IAS. Some people do Insights, IAS Baba. Some people do Unique IAS. I would advise you to go for the open online test of any coaching. I've heard good things about Unique IAS as well. Forum IAS tests are also good. You can go for that. As long as you are doing it holistically, honestly, it won't be a problem. If you are running short of time, don't start from test number 1, start from test number 35. Why? Full length tests are there. Test number 1 onwards, tests are relatively easier. Not absolutely easy, but relatively a little bit easier. Start from test number 35, work backwards. How do you attempt a test paper? I've already said that it takes about 5 to 5.5 hours. 2 hours for attempt, 15 minutes for checking, 2 to 2.5 hours, even 3 hours for reviewing each and every question. On priority, you would review the questions that you could not attempt. Then on second priority would be the questions that you did attempt, but was not 100% sure, but got the answer right. Still, you are not 100% sure, so you should read the solution. Okay, and even in those questions that you were sure of, that you attempted with absolute certainty, those questions have to be read also. Why? Because you find a new thing in a solution. It is possible that you might find a new thing in a solution that might appear in a question that you might not have known. Finally, we come to the last day or the morning of the exam. Revise it till the evening. Revise your content till the evening, but ensure that you get enough sleep. Don't panic. Ensure that you get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Whatever your sleeping pattern is, don't disrupt that. Because if you revise till 1 a.m. in the morning, you might get a question. You might be able to get 2 more marks. But your decision making will be impaired, your speed will be impaired, your analysis and your brain will be impaired, and that will affect every question that you attempt. So don't endanger 200 marks for those 2 marks. Take sugar with you in the exam. Some people take chocolate. I used to take grounded sugar. That gives you instant energy boost. And eat that sugar after first iteration when you are filling the bubbles. And eat sugar right before you enter the exam room for 30 to 45 minutes before you enter the exam room. That can also work. Relax. One day, one evening is not going to change your destiny. The work that you have done through the entire year will be affecting the way you appear in the prelims. So the mood, anxiety, frustration, stress that you have on the last day will be informed by the efforts that you have put in the entire year. And if you can be honest with yourself and you can tell yourself that, okay, I've done everything that I could do. Honestly, I've done everything that was within my power in the attempt. Then you should be able to relax. Whatever the result comes, it will give you a chance to improve. If the result is not favorable, if the result is favorable, then congratulations, you're on the right track. Some common mistakes to avoid is that thinking that prelims is about just 1 to 1 months of prep. People do that, many people do that, and then some people say that it is a matter of luck. Prelims is a matter of luck. I discussed my strategy. I worked for the prelims all the year round. The time that was devoted on prelims varied between my attempts as well as varied throughout the year depending on how far or how close I was to the prelims. Not reading the content appropriately, right? I've already mentioned that how you should read the same book differently for prelims as well as for the mains. Not revising, reading too much content, not revising it, so not able to reproduce it, impaired decision making, vague recollection and wrong answer. Not doing tests, thinking that I've already revised things, I don't need to do tests, it will be fine. That is not the way it works. Not doing the test properly. Okay, so I attempted 85 questions, I got 70 right, even though I was only sure in 45 questions. I got 70 right, so I should read only 30 questions. I should read the solution to only 30 questions. And what about those 25 questions in the middle that you were not sure of, but you still attempted and hopefully and probabilistically you got them right? You should read the solutions ideally to all the 100 questions. That not being possible, at least to the 55 questions that you were not sure of or got wrong or even got right based on probability. You should read the solutions to all of them. Skipping between test series. I mentioned that you should not skip between test series. Complete one coaching test series. Whether it is Vision, I did Vision. Some people did Insights, some people did IS Baba. Unique IS tests were also good. I did some quizzes. So they are helpful, but do not skip. Then cost benefit. Sometimes people pick up new material before the prelims, 1 month before the prelims. First timers can do that because they might not have covered the entire material, but I would advise that second timers, third timers, do not do that. You should have worked hard. You should have already made your notes throughout the year. Do not pick up new material before the prelims. It will create panic. It will not be cost beneficial for you. Then there's always some luck factor. Some information about a particular topic that you might have studied appeared in the exam that you missed. There is always a luck factor, but I've always said that the harder you work, the luckier you get. As simple as that. How to read the atlas? See, atlas is something that has to be covered almost exclusively for prelims. Maps are made in general studies as well, in GS mains, but the information that comes from atlas in the prelims is very specific, and that has to be covered. And if you don't know that, like north to south order of cities, east to west order of cities, and mountains, peaks, and rivers, boundaries of countries, seas, all these things have to be covered. And if you are not covering this, you might not be able to attempt the question. So I would advise you to cover the atlas, but the way to cover the atlas, as I already mentioned, is not spending 10 hours in a day. It is spending, the way I did it, is spending 1 to 1.5 hours every day for about a month. Why? Because it can be a refreshing exercise at the end of the day when you are bored, when you are exhausted, when you are about to go to bed. Just spend some time looking at the atlas. But by looking, I don't mean just looking. The way I studied the atlas is that I used a red pen. I marked state boundaries, country boundaries, river courses, and seas. I wrote in the margins the order of north to south of cities, east to west of cities, so that I don't have to exclusively figure out those orders in every attempt or in every time I read the atlas. I can just simply read the margin and be done.